What's going on? Matt Savoca here from Awesemo.com, bringing you the Wild Card Weekend Saturday slate DraftKings contenders video. An exciting two-game slate, should be very compelling here, starting with the Raiders versus the Cincinnati Bengals, and then the third matchup of the year for the New England Patriots and the Buffalo Bills, expected to be extremely cold at kickoff in Buffalo. But before we get into this one, go ahead and like this video, subscribe to the channel so that you always know when we're going live. You guys know what to do. And if you could give me, Matt Savoca, a follow on Twitter, that would be much appreciated as well. We'd also like to thank our presenting sponsor, Prize Picks. Prize Picks is offering player props contests for all major sports, and right now you can get a first match deposit bonus of up to $100 when you use the promo code Awesemo. But our promos don't stop there. If you go to awesemo.com/prizepicks-promo, you can also get a month free of Awesemo Plus Platinum, so you do not want to miss out on this promo today. Okay, on the screen here, you see my 10 through 6 of my top plays for this two-game Saturday slate. At number 10, it's CJ Uzomah with a 34% chance of being in the optimal lineup. He's really third or really fourth fiddle in this receiving core, but he absolutely could have a 7 to 8 target game at his ceiling against this porous Raiders defense. At number 9, Stephon Diggs in the optimal lineup, a respectable 37% of the time, but the median projection compared to salary-based expectations doesn't make him look that solid this week. Obviously, he's a strong ceiling tournament play regardless of game environment. Then at 8 and 7, Tyler Boyd and Jamar Chase. Tyler Boyd, the lower salary value option, and Jamar Chase, the higher salary, you need a high ceiling kind of option. He's in the optimal lineup 42% of the time, and we saw a 266-yard game out of him in just week 17. We know what the ceiling is, but the salary is tough. Still in the optimal lineup, a solid 42% of the time. That's just less than the Bills defense. Not surprised to see one of these 4 available defenses on the Saturday slate rising to the top. The Bills, who are 4-point favorites at home in a low total game, makes all the sense in the world. Not really a pick to score more than 30 points, but a really solid floor here, and at 3,200, a value as well. They are just outside the top 5. Who makes it? Let's watch and find out. At number 5, it's Devin Singletary, and he's really taken over this Buffalo backfield over the last few weeks. Since that week 16 game against this same New England defense where he had 18 total opportunities, he has basically had this whole Buffalo backfield to himself. 23 rush attempts and another target in week 17, and then in week 18, 19 rushes, including 6 in the red zone and 2 targets on top of that. I'm surprised to see that the ceiling score really isn't there for Singletary, and I guess that's because Josh Allen is still quite involved as a rusher and a passer near the goal line, only scoring 30 fantasy points in about 2% of our simulations. And of course, we could see the passing game still smash here in a game where Buffalo is technically favored. 29% chance of scoring under 10 fantasy points, but I don't think it's happening here. I think he's getting closer to 12.5, maybe 14, 15 points here for Devin Singletary. Should carry it plenty, and we have him projected for a solid amount of rushing yards as well. Even against a very tough New England defense who ranks 3rd in defensive PFF grades among all playoff teams, Devin Singletary is in the optimal lineup 44% of the time. At number 4, it's T. Higgins of the Cincinnati Bengals, and I know that Jamar Chase may have a higher ceiling projection, but I think from a ceiling versus salary standpoint, Higgins represents the sweet spot here. 6,300 on DraftKings, and you're getting a 16-point median fantasy projection against a pretty bad, at least by playoff football standards, defense in the Las Vegas Raiders. You want to target players on this Cincinnati passing attack. Skinny stack it with Joe Burrow. He looks like a fantastic option. He may not be my favorite here, but not surprised to see Higgins showing up at nearly a 50% chance, a 48% chance of being in the optimal lineup. At number 3, Josh Jacobs, and I definitely like this game environment better than Buffalo and New England, but Josh Jacobs is probably going to be game scripted out of this one because I expect Cincinnati at some point to be up pretty big, and then the Las Vegas Raiders will be forced into a pass-heavy game script. Still, we've seen Josh Jacobs carry a ton of the backfield workload over the last few weeks. 26 rushes in week 18, including two targets on top of that. 16 rushes and 4 targets the week before that. He had 30 total opportunities in a game in week 16, and he still barely crested 10 fantasy points. Now, we know that's a floor outcome if you have that much opportunity, but still, I don't know if Jacobs, just because he's getting volume, is a must play on this slate. I certainly like running backs more than him. He is scoring 30 fantasy points 8.5% of the time, and under 10 fantasy points in a respectable 23% of our simulations. That's fairly low, but I think that 16-point median projection at a 6,500 salary, that's just okay. So really, we're just hoping that he's got the volume and he probably lands in the end zone once or twice. That's when you really want him in tournaments. Still, when we don't have that many bell cow running backs on this slate, I understand that Josh Jacobs is going to show up plenty. He's showing up in the optimal lineup 49% of the time. At number 2, it's Darren Waller of the Las Vegas Raiders. Came back with a vengeance last week. 9 targets, 2 in the red zone, but that's kind of where it ended because the production wasn't there. 2 receptions, 22 yards on his 68 air yards. That's not going to get it done. The volume is exciting though. The 9 targets he saw last week were actually the most Waller has seen in a game since that week 1 explosion game. It took overtime, yes, but he had 19 total targets, including 3 in the red zone. He had 10 receptions for 105 yards in that game. So I'm not surprised to see a 16% chance of Waller scoring 30 fantasy points and a median projection that rivals a player like Jacobs. So really, Darren Waller looks like the best option on the Raiders by far here, in my opinion. Jacobs is going to get the guaranteed volume, and yeah, theoretically, Cincinnati could shade their defense to the point where the Las Vegas passing attack has to beat them with someone else, but I don't really think that's happening here. I think Waller has a huge game in that second game back from injury. Waller is the optimal tight end, or just in the optimal lineup 55% of the time. Now, before I reveal my number 1 play on DraftKings for this Saturday slate, just want to remind you guys, go ahead and like this video, subscribe to the channel so that you always know when we're going live. You guys know what to do. And if you could give me, Matt Savoca, a follow on Twitter at Draftaholic, that would be much appreciated as well. Also, go ahead and leave a comment. Which of these have been your favorite plays, your least favorite plays? Maybe somebody I left off, maybe a game I'm not seeing correctly in the slightest. Let me know. I always like to hear what your guys' thoughts are. And finally, a shout out to our presenting sponsor, Prize Picks. Use promo code Awesemo when you sign up for an up to $100 first match deposit bonus, and go to awesemo.com/prizepicks-promo where you can get a month free of Awesemo plus Platinum when you sign up today. Okay, let's get into my number 1 play on DraftKings for this Saturday slate. At number 1, and it's not particularly close, Joe Mixon, running back of the Cincinnati Bengals. And obviously, in the highest total game of a 2-game slate, you're gonna play the bell cow running back, especially the one on the team that's favored by nearly a touchdown here. So I get it just from a fundamentals perspective, but Mixon has been excellent when on the field. 7th in the NFL in total evaded tackles this season, and 7th in the NFL in total breakaway runs, the ability to turn a rush into 10 yards or more, a nearly 30% chance of scoring 30 points or more, a median projection over 20 fantasy points, and a salary under 7,000. That is fantastic on a 2-game slate. Yes, he's going to be very, very popular, but it is completely warranted against the Las Vegas Raiders defense that might be the worst defensive unit in the playoffs. They're 13th of 14 in team PFF defensive grades here, and the worst team in schedule adjusted fantasy points allowed to running backs. Things are setting up very, very nicely for Joe Mixon, and he's gotten plenty of work, and he expects to get more work in the playoffs compared to the regular season, where players like Samaje Perine and Chris Evans worked in. No, that's not happening in the playoffs. especially when the Bengals get near the goal line. They are only going to be calling one player's number. That's Joe Mixon's. It is surprising to see it this high, but not surprising to see him at number 1. 73% of the time, Joe Mixon is in the optimal lineup. And that is gonna do it for the Week 19 Wild Card Weekend Saturday edition of the DraftKings Contenders video. If you're looking for the FanDuel version of this video, it's around here somewhere. Go ahead and look for it on the channel. We will be back on Sunday with all your Sunday slate for the wild card needs. Until then, I'm Matt Savoca from Awesemo.com. We'll see you guys next time.